Welcome to This Week in Metropolis. I'm James.
I'd like to try a cappuccino. Cappuccino. Yeah, the sound of it's like a waterfall of words. Anyway, on this episode, we are talking about how to save the world, or in that link to what we normally talk about, the things that maybe will save the world. It's not guaranteed, but we'll be talking about some really cool paint that cools stuff down. We'll be talking about robots that might make our lives better. And we'll be talking about shoes as well.
Shoes.
Special shoes.
Are they shoes? But before we get into that, make sure you follow us on all the socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're getting the videos out there now as well. It won't be long before we've got our own dance, put it that way. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember last week when I said we're on 90? Guess how many we got this week? Now? 90.
Oh.
So whoever listened, you didn't subscribe unless you already are, in which we thank you.
Thank you very much.
But for now, enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode. I'm James, he's Matt, we're back. We've just said all that, but where was that again? Just to let the viewers know and the listeners, Matt has just paused halfway through watching Free Guy, which he's loving, but he's going to give a full review in the coming weeks. In fact, we'll do a joint one because I watched it last night. So we'll get that out there to you soon. We didn't do, Matt, a song of the week today. Just for the listeners, just to change it up a bit, have you got any?
I have actually. Interestingly, well, not really interestingly, I just thought it was interesting. We had a big discussion, just to bring the listeners into this. We had a big discussion earlier. If we got someone where he wasn't sure, she'll put one, don't know. But I was then listening to dance anthems on Radio 1, which if you're in the UK, you will know it. If you're not, possibly not. But it's the warm-up to the weekend for people that are going out and whatever and playing the latest dance music.
And do people still go out?
Allegedly, yes. I've not seen this phenomenon myself for a considerable amount of time. I've heard it is still a thing. And to be honest, listening to it, I was thinking I'd really like to go out. Sort of let me out of this house. However, there's a song called Techno Disco, and I couldn't tell you who it was by. I need to look that up. Awesome tune. The kind of tune that does make you want to leave the house and dance is what I would say. How about yourself?
Yeah, there was one that I listened to every day this week, actually, which
every day.
I hate to say it probably could have been my track of the week for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's a song called I Am MATT HEALY by We Are TWIM.
I've heard a lot about this.
It's going places, mate. It's going to be huge. If you haven't heard it already, go and check it out. It's made by We Are TWIM, which is funnily enough me and Matt.
We Are TWIM, yeah.
So yeah, if you get a chance, check that out. Get a beer, grab a beer, go and drink a beer.
And
if you don't like beer, I mean, just for the listeners, I'm drinking tonight Tony's Popolonely Brewdog, which is a little bit controversial, but we won't go into that story. But yeah, check this out. It's amazing. Matt told me about it.
Not strawberry, raspberry and white chocolate, isn't it?
Yeah, raspberry and white chocolate, and it's delightful. I can see it taking over quite early doors.
It's a collaboration with Tony's Chocolate, which, for our Dutch friends, you'll know it very well. And they sell it in the UK now. It's obscenely expensive, but it does taste good.
And there's an abundance of it in my fridge, which is my wife's fault because she is a huge fan of it. And yeah. It's there. I don't really get a look in. I don't get to touch it really.
For the sake of marriage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, happy wife, happy life. I've got a bit of a cold, so if you do hear me coughing or sneezing or whatever, it's not coronavirus, just a cold. So well wishes are welcome. But But before we get into any of that worry, we are going to save the world. That's what we do. We're here to help. What you found out, Matt? What is going to save the world now or in the future?
Well, this one is potentially in the future, and that this is going to happen. I thought it was quite an interesting thing because, I don't know, there are a lot of ideas, electric cars, bits and pieces like that everyone's sort of heard of, everyone knows about. But this was a bit of an odd one, something I'd never heard of before. What I found out, which I thought was really interesting, if you like paint, because this is all about paint. Now, basically, a university has invented an ultra-white paint, and this is the whitest paint ever. And it's so white that they actually got a Guinness burns your eyes for one, but the nice people that invented it earned the Guinness World Record for the whitest white paint, which is a pretty mean feat in itself, which, when I read it, I'll be honest, I want to see it. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you tell? Because when you look at white things, like if you've got a like the white screen on this article, for example, we're looking at, that's pretty white, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
How do you gauge how white something is? But I guess there's some sort of scientific way of doing it. However, they're not doing this just from a visual point of view. They're doing it from a fact that it reflects 98.1% of solar radiation while outputting heat. So what that means in sort of more layman's terms is the actual surface is cooler than its surroundings. So it acts almost like an air conditioning. So the example it gave in this particular article is that it produces a cooling power of 10 kilowatts per 1,000 square foot, which is more than a normal house air conditioning unit, just by using this paint alone, which I thought was pretty incredible, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. But this is something that's been going on for quite a while, because if you ever go to like Spain or a lot of hot countries, a lot of their buildings are all painted white. And that is cooling thing to try and keep it cooler on the inside, whether they've got aircon or not. I mean, they've not got this level of white, but I didn't even think about it before we talked a little bit off air about this. But my wife, when I told her what we was talking about, she said, "Oh yeah, they do that abroad, don't they?" Because I think when I've been to see Steve in Lanzarote or whatever, all the buildings there, they're all like painted a light colour to kind of keep that heat,
reflect the heat,
just being absorbed. If it's painted black or if it's brickwork, it's just going to absorb it all, and your house is going to be like an absolute oven.
That's it. And I think that's the important thing to say. I mean, with this, it says this particular paint reflects 98.1% of solar radiation. But it says there are existing paints made to reflect heat, which I imagine is probably like what you were saying in hotter countries. But they reflect no more than 90% of sunlight, which to me sounds pretty close. I know it's 8%, but it's still quite a bit, isn't it? It's not... So clearly these sort of things exist. Unfortunately, it's in a university setting. This isn't something that's ready to go to production as such, but they have teamed up with companies to mass produce it and fold the patents as that. So it will be coming, but it not necessarily coming sort of, you know, in the next 6 months or whatever, but certainly it will be an option to use, which I think is a pretty cool thing. I'd happily
paint
a room. Yeah, it's paint everything white, it'll be fine.
What, even in the UK?
Yeah, why not?
Interesting. I mean, for me, like you said, how white is white? And it just when you said that, then it made me think of like my, you know, super cool OLED TV being the black on it being, you know, as black as possible. I mean, yeah, it's pretty black, but I couldn't tell you if it's, you know, amazing. There
is a paint or there's a colour, and I think that people have to look into this, and really I should have probably looked into this beforehand, but there's an artist who has created the blackest black possible, and I think he's actually patented that colour. I think you can, I'm sure they've used it to sort of paint buildings and things like that, just for a visual purpose, I believe. I don't think it's that. I don't know whether that's for absorbing heat, as such, for keeping it warm, but that definitely exists as well. But again, like you said, I guess on the TV you can notice when it's accurately replicated, but looking at it, would you look at a colour and think that's really, I don't know, it's really black, or that's really white? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting, but you know, we'll have
it's
to
a good
see
solution.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it is definitely one. I mean, I guess from a saving the planet side of things, it's more about then you're using less electricity or whatever in your home to cool it down, I guess. Is that the
and that's the idea.
selling point?
Literally, you would paint everything, or the areas you would want cool with this paint, because it would be the equivalent to using aircon, but you're not using aircon, you're not using electricity, you're just purely painting that wall.
Could you just paint yourself? Could you just fill up the bath with this and then just take a dip?
Maybe.
And then you'll say
then
the coolest
you'd
you've
be
ever
really
been.
cool. Yeah. There might be some sort of I don't know, hazardous issues with this. I think when you paint yourself, don't you have to leave a certain amount of your skin exposed, otherwise you suffocate? Isn't there something like that? Or am I making this up?
I never knew that.
I'm sure it was.
I've never looked into it.
I'm sure, and this is going off on a proper weird tangent. There was it The Man with the Golden Gun? There was one of the Bond films where a lady was painted completely gold in it. And I'm sure I read it with that they couldn't paint her like entirely gold because, you know, your skin dies or whatever. I don't know. Again, listeners, look into this, because do our research for us, because, you know, that might be complete rubbish, but I'm sure I've read that somewhere.
There you go. Well, my saving the world one is an environmental friendly thing. However, what it's changing isn't something I'm particularly a fan of. I don't know if you are, Matt, but we'll find out now. But basically, I saw two people the other day in McDonald's, just rocking up to McDonald's in Crocs. It's just shameful.
Controversial. That is very controversial.
Matt, I've got you down as someone who's probably got a pair in the house somewhere.
Luckily we're good friends, and I can take that sort of thing. No, never. I'm sort of quite anti them. However, there is this thing that I keep seeing. There's an advert I keep seeing on the Instagram from a brand called Merrell, which do like outdoor shoes, that boots and that sort of thing, like trail shoes and things. But they've made some, and their ones actually look quite cool. And I keep looking and thinking, it's in a nice pastel colour. I wouldn't mind that. But nice pastel colours. However, I've never owned a pair of Crocs, and I've been sort of dead against wearing a pair of Crocs. And the whole argument, they're so comfortable. You can wear them down the beach. They're, you know, they're practical. Nonsense. Yeah, exactly.
It's nonsense.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, the makers of Crocs, they are going to change the ingredients of how they're made. And they want them to be, as the article says on The Guardian, entirely bio-based by 2022, which, you know, that's good.
It's good. And, well, hang on, that's next year.
Yeah. So this is a quick thing. However, the longer term thing is that they want them to be carbon neutral by 2030. Wow. Which, you know, that's the bigger thing. But what they're going to be doing is they're going to be using a new material called Equilibrium, which I think sounds incredible, which is built from hydrocarbons extracted from renewable resources and waste products such as palm oil and pulp paper. And they're going to call the new production process carbon negative.
Good choice.
Go on, Matt.
Well, no, I was just going to comment on the palm oil aspect of this, because that's not a good thing, and that's certainly not going to save planet. depending how they get it, because I think there are better palm oils than, like non-deforestation Amazon rainforest killing your orangutans palm oil. Exactly. But it still seems a bit unnecessary, isn't it? And the fact that their equilibrium thing is built from hydrocarbons extracted from renewable resources. How is a hydrocarbon extracted from a renewable resource?
Again, listeners, if you know, do your research, let us know. Well, it's interesting that you brought this up, because in the article further down, it does say that Greenpeace UK have criticised Crocs' use of palm oil in the new ingredients. A bit like what you said. Am I right in thinking I actually asked you earlier today whether there was a beer that you liked that was that had palm oil in it?
You did, yeah, because we was talking about Beaverton's neck oil, but you called it palm oil instead. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't drink palm oil, just to clear that up.
He's a liar. He's got gallons of it. But yeah, basically they've gone on to say substituting palm oil will not solve Crocs' contribution to climate change. Palm oil plantations is a driver of, as you just mentioned, deforestation that has direct consequences, fueling the climate crisis. I think the best thing to do, right, if we're going to save the world, right, Matt, that's what our mission statement is for today's episode.
Yeah.
If we're going to save the world, get rid of Crocs. There you go. I've just, I've got rid of it.
You're saving the world from, the use of plastics or whatever, and that sort of thing. But also, you're saving people from crimes against fashion, aren't you? You're enriching lives from this as well. So what have you got to lose, really?
But do you have to question the people that wear Crocs? Now, I hope that we're not kind of alienating.
We could go down to 2 followers on YouTube, because it's going to be Croc heavy, unfortunately, without
I've just done a mental quick scan through my friends who I know follow this show. I'm pretty sure none of them wear Crocs, but if they do, then not only will you probably unfollow us, we shouldn't be friends.
Yeah, and that's it. I think it's fair, isn't it?
That's only fair. But yeah, I think the idea is right. All jokes aside, the idea is right. But like you said, to replace one thing with something that's detrimental in another area isn't a great move.
No. It's a bit of a halfway. Well, it's not even a halfway, to be honest. Just like, I wonder though, not being an expert on this, if you're making something like Crocs, which are sort of bendy plastic things, really, how many options you've got in terms of making it? What else can you make that out of? That is going to be good. I know a comparable thing, or not comparable in terms of objects, but I know Lego are following a similar path. I don't know for what, over which period of time, but obviously Lego has built their entire business on making plastic that in a lot of cases would potentially end up in landfill. I think a lot of people keep their Lego for a long while, but I think they're transitioning to plant-based material. I think, I'm not sure what it is, but they make certain bits already out of this thing, but I think by a certain date they're going to make all of it out of that particular product. So it'd be interesting to see how that compares. Obviously theirs is quite a hard material, isn't it? So maybe they have more options to it, but it just seems
I guess my final question to you on it is there a worse footwear than Crocs?
It's those things that are it's going to be really hard to describe, but it's like a slip-on walking boot shoe is the only way I can describe it.
Uggs?
It's a slip-on. No, it's a slip-on shoe. I don't even know what these things are called. It's a slip-on shoe with a really rugged sole, but it's sort of a low shoe. I'll post a picture of this on Instagram or something like that, so everyone can see what I'm talking about. But that's the best thing I can think of. It's something old men wear.
Oh, interesting.
With white socks and shorts.
Oh, no. The only thing I could think of would be clogs, a wooden version of Crocs.
Well, no, they are really, aren't they? Just really impractical.
But what would you... I mean, if you had to choose one that you had to wear...
I'm quite a man for comfort, so I would probably go for Crocs if I really had to out of the two.
There you go. He's giving in.
Thing is, I wouldn't have the, like they have the little charms or little badges that you can get for Crocs. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because the Croc has holes in them, you can get these little charms that like fit in the holes.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's next level, isn't it?
What if I got you a pair of Crocs with the This Week in Metropolis logo on it?
If it's for the purpose of the podcast, it's all right, isn't it?
We'll take it. Well,
Crocs, if you're listening and you want to do some sort of endorsement of our podcast, fine.
Oh yeah, and send us some free pairs. I'm a
size 9. If we get free ones, nothing to lose. I'm 9 as well, so it's really easy. We can share a pair, even.
Not. Well, now it's time for another one of these.
Question mark. Hello, gents. Thank you for having me back on again. My question is really simple. Will Amazon's Astro help or hinder the world? Question mark.
This is a good one, and it fits in line with today's episode, mainly because I told him what we're going to be talking about. Well done. Amazon's Astro.
Yeah.
Fill me in, Matt, because my knowledge on it is limited.
I was coincidentally, I was reading about this and their whole. They did a sort of presentation as such for all of their sort of Alexa related things and their sort of.
Don't say it too loud, mate. I've got one to say.
Well, and that's it. They're becoming very, very popular. The approach seems to be with this stuff, and from what I read, is basically they're slinging Alexa into as many things as they possibly can, and they're seeing what sticks. Like that's pretty much their approach. Is we've got this thing and we've got this technology, and we're going to see how we can make it work and see what's popular. Which brings us to Astro, which if you're listening or watching and haven't heard of Astro. Astro is basically a robot, or should I say, it is like a what is it? The Echo? No, what was it? The Amazon. It's one of their products on wheels. It's like a Kindle Fire or whatever it may be, on a stick stuck to a Hoover. That sort of
on a stick
goes round. So it's meant to be sort of a companion as such, that could follow you around. It moves around the house. The clever applications, I guess, and this isn't something that I knew existed, was Alexa has something called Alexa Guard, which means it can listen out for disturbances in your house. So it can recognise the sound of broken glass, for example.
Okay.
So
I'm just sharing, so the viewers can see. I've seen a picture of it. So again, just for reference, if you didn't know what it is, that's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like, exactly. So I mean, for example, if you set it up and it heard broken glass and it then rang you and said, "James, someone's breaking into your house," it could then drive and have a look and see who was breaking into your house, for example.
Could it then attack them?
Yeah, I don't believe it can. It's not got arms. It could nudge them quite aggressively.
It looks like a modern day Johnny 5.
It does. Yeah. The thing is, it's got a cup holder in its bum as well. So yeah, the back part, it's got space for 2 cups. However, it's got no way of putting the cups in there. So that's the thing. It would have to drive to the fridge, but it'd have to have someone to put your beer
So
in
you've
that
got to
thing,
go there anyway.
you'd have to go and fill it up and then walk beside it while it like came back to your sofa. So I feel the uses for it are pretty limited. I mean, it did say, again, another example it gave is maybe, let's say you had an elderly relative or someone who needed to be monitored, let's say, you could have it there and you could check in with that person. But,
Yeah.
you know, what's the difference? You could have a phone and ring them.
Yeah. I mean, I've got an Alexa. It's only an Echo Dot. It sits on my desk here. It plays my music. During the Euros, they've done a daily quiz. That was quite nice. Nice little touch. And do you know what? There's probably a hell of a lot more that it does that I don't even know. The best thing about Alexa that happened just randomly one day was it said my mum was calling me from it. And the fact that my mum was calling me from it said how much I didn't know about it, if that makes sense. And yeah, you can, you know, it syncs up to your phone, so or your contact list and things like that. So you can make calls from it, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah. You've got a Nest, Google Nest?
No, it's called a Google Home Pod.
Oh,
Nest is the heating thing, isn't it?
That's it, right? So your Google thing, can you make calls and things like that from it?
I don't know. I literally got it for free when I signed up for Spotify, and we use it purely for a radio and in the kitchen, and when we don't use it, we turn it off.
So it's not listening.
I don't want the corporate scum listening to me 24/7. Yeah, and that's the thing for me is the cynical side of me thinks, you know, Amazon obviously have spent a lot of money on this. They have a load of the back end for this is huge in terms of, you know, how it services the Alexa thing, but ultimately they're in it for something. You know, it's not like they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart for you to make your life easier.
Yeah.
And the worrying thing with these things is it does listen, and it has been proven in the past that real people do listen to it. It's not just if you ask something repeatedly and it can't understand you, it then defaults to humans. So humans will listen to what you're saying. So it's not just, and because it's always on, it's not just listening to when you say Alexa, it hears everything. So it
must be listening all the time for it to recognize Alexa.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a constant log. So when you then think of there's been a fair amount of controversy because they own Amazon own Ring, which are the doorbells, things, which in a similar way because that's on the outside of your house and it's got a camera on it, that's permanently recording as well. So there have been situations where Ring has handed over footage to the police, but without any warrant or anything like that. Obviously, it's related to a crime, but then also it's that there's a privacy aspect to that as well. They will openly share that sort of information. So with something like Astro, that's mapping your house through its sensors. So it's creating a complete map of your house. It's listening to you. It can see you as well. To me, I mean, I personally don't want that. And I won't ever have a smart home for that reason. It's just not, it's too intrusive. If I want to find something out, I'll Google it, and it's really not that big an issue for me. And then I'll put my phone down and I'll carry on with my life. I don't feel the need to do that, really.
I mean, mine's linked up to my smart bulbs in my bedrooms, which is pretty cool. But do you want to know how often I use that?
I would say less than 10 times since you bought it.
Probably. I was going to do it here, but you wouldn't really notice the difference because we got the backgrounds on.
Yeah.
But just in case the corporate scums are listening, again, if you want to send us anything, or
send us an Astro,
send us an Astro. We'll
send it to James's house. I don't want anything to do with it.
I'm a big fan. But in answer to Mark's question, which is it going to save the world? That was the question, wasn't it?
Yeah, that is.
No,
No,
it's a solid no.
I think you'll make the world worse. Is my opinion with it.
Is it going to
but-
go downstairs?
No, it can't, and that's the thing. So it can't go downstairs. It hasn't got arms. It can't lift anything up. It can't really do anything. So it's like a really rubbish Dalek. Is the way to look at it. It can't shoot either. And it
With an
can't
LED
really shoot.
screen.
Yeah, that's it. That just winks at you or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think that having read about the other things that Amazon have put their tech into, there's a thing that's basically this is a screen on this thing with a camera pointing down, and a child can put a playmat into it and sort of click on things it's like this interactive thing. And it was I can't remember the explanation, something like to keep a child more engaged while looking at a screen. And I think, well, is that a good thing? Do you want the child looking at the screen? And it had this friendly picture of, oh, granddad's on the phone, look, and the child's talking to granddad. But still, like, you'd get the kid a book, is the thing.
Take him outside.
Go outside, my God. And I don't think that's not like an old world sort of thing saying that. I think there's place for technology everywhere, but a lot of these products solve problems that don't even exist. And I think on a more sort of serious note of like Mark saying, will it make the world a better place? I think people struggle enough with screen addiction and struggle enough with being always on. And if you've got a robot at your feet that's doing stuff with you, and if you've got a screen on the wall that you can see the weather and the news and everything always there, as well as your TV and your laptop and your phone, where does it stop? There's going to be a breaking point, whether you sort of realise it or not. It's detrimental to you, isn't it? So
I agree. Yeah, I can't see it making any bit of difference to like you say, with the ones that are there now, they're enough. They're clever in what they do. We talked about them before on the AI show. But to have one that kind of follows you around, I mean, I'm all for like AI robots and all that sort of thing. Even the kids' toys ones, some of them, I mean, they're still like 80 odd quid or whatever, but
they're
clever. Really cool. But just to have essentially an Alexa, whatever they're called now, on wheels.
That's it.
That's essentially it, isn't it?
Yeah. The one thing I'm from reading the articles about it, there was an article on I think it was Engadget maybe, where it was talking about all the different previous iterations that different companies had done of this sort of thing. Yeah. And it reminded me of one which I loved. I would have absolutely died for around 20 years ago. Sony made something called Aibo, AIBO, which was a dog. It was a little sort of robot puppy, and it sort of walked around and barked at you and stuff like that. Really basic compared to what things were. But yeah, it was amazing. It was not
like the Boston Dynamics one.
No, it's not like Spot. It's not quite that good. It's not like huge. Just a little thing. But it was about, I think they were sort of, $2,000 or $5,000 or something like this tiny little thing at the time. So way out of my price range then. But yeah, they were so cool. I like the idea of something like that. A little. If you had a robot dog or something following you around and it was cute and it didn't spy on you all the time, it would be a bit of fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Definitely. Well, Mark, thanks for your question. Let us know your thought. Do you think they'll save the world?
Or will they take over the world?
This is the thing. AI is growing, mate. It's growing.
It's coming to get us. Well, another thing that, to be honest, it's on the right theme, but I don't think this is going to save the world. But,
we're doing really well on this episode.
I don't think we're being particularly successful in saving the world. But I read an article about Samsung producing fridges which are more environmentally friendly. And of course, people often have, or brands often have celebrities to promote the products.
Yeah,
So the natural choice for this particular product is vanilla ice. If you're trying to sell a fridge freezer, who do you want there? Vanilla ice.
Has he done anything in how many years? I don't even know what he does now.
Apparently, I think my vanilla ice trivia, after his successful or briefly successful rap career, he started renovating houses. I think he did actually have a show for a while where he renovated houses. You know, like I can't remember what that American program was, but not quite changing rooms in the UK, but basically, a couple needed their house doing up and they did it up for them.
It sounds exactly like that. Doesn't Dion Dublin now do something like that? And he's he's an ex-footballer. Yeah.
How bizarre.
Not David Beckham level, but yeah.
But yeah, I think I can't remember Vanilla Ice's real name. But yeah, he had
Vanilla
a company. I think he did. Did he ride motocross or something for a while as well?
My knowledge on him
might have done that.
Minute.
So he's now promoting fridges. All right, let me share this
Promoting
article.
fridges, I love it.
So
Love it. Is it just fridges that he promotes or fridge freezers?
I think it is a particular range, which that Samsung's bespoke refrigerator range. But they haven't just thought we'll get him on there because he's got an ice in his name. He's actually re-released his 1990 hit song Ice Ice Baby as Reduce Your Ice Ice Baby to encourage you to turn your fridge down, but and use less energy. So the lyrics are: turn down the freezer and they'll glow, just 1 degree I'll raise the temp like a vandal, climate friendly, wax a chump like a candle. You know,
I mean, it just
rolls off your tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes me want to go into the kitchen now and just turn that fridge down because Ice told me to, really.
But
so yeah,
just reading that further on, it says that if every household in Europe alone increases its freezer's temperature by 1 degree Celsius, it could lower humanity's carbon emissions by over 1 million tons annually.
Which is insane, isn't it? That's a huge thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, all jokes aside with the vanilla ice thing, there's something that they're trying to do. Yeah.
That's it. It's very
to lower
good.
the footprint.
Yeah, that's it. So they're very good intentions there, but
is vanilla ice the one who's gonna? It's funny, really, because you've only got to look at the whole pandemic and the vaccine rollout, where they've tried to get big personalities that people look up to and aspire to be like, or their heroes to go, I've had the vaccine, you should go and have the vaccine. Is vanilla ice the one who's going to get you to
be more eco-friendly? The fact that the majority of people under 30 would probably say vanilla who, it's not it's not exactly in current culture, is he? Bless him. But he looks like he's still in the thick of it, though, on that picture.
He looks a little bit like you.
His big, really? I need to get...
Just pull that face.
Yeah, same person. I'll get myself a nice Stars and Stripes hat to add to my hip hop look that I have day to day. Yeah.
Interesting.
But there we go.
Interesting stuff. Well, I mean, marks out of 10 on saving the planet for us.
I think it's a solid 1 really at the moment.
Come on.
Well, saying that we have given very good advice on the dangers of Crocs. I think,
Exactly. For multiple reasons as well. It's not even just the planet.
Yeah.
It's your
reputation,
own dignity.
Respect, dignity. Yeah, all those things. Yeah.
Well, we've done it. Episode 4?
4. It is. Episode 4
4
of Series 8.
Series 8. We're going strong. We hope you enjoyed. Tell your friends. Tell your family. We done that last week with one of our colleagues who, bless her heart, she went and listened to the show afterwards. So, you know, you might just hear from us. But before we leave today, we're going to leave you with something. We're going to end the show on something this week beforehand. Good friends of ours who came on series 6 or 7. Mark Bernal from Lesser Known Comics. Yeah. Lovely guy.
Yeah, it was 7. Last series, definitely.
Last series, yeah. Lovely guy. And this is from him.
Hey everyone listening to This Week in Metropolis. This is Mark Bernal, founder of Lesser Known Comics. James and Matt were nice enough to let their ignorant American friend stop by to let you know about 8 new comic books we have available on our Kickstarter right now. This is our 3rd batch of comics and features, So I Worked at the Mall, a zine-style comic about a vampire cult trying to take over a shoe store, and World Eater #1, a manga-style comic about a young hero's fight against an unstoppable intergalactic destroyer. This Kickstarter also features 4 more mini-comics to include the latest issue of Conjury, a gritty crime noir set in Brooklyn, New York. Lastly, this Kickstarter features our first team-up with Digital Lizards of Doom. Backers will have the option to add their first graphic novel, where an evil robot overlord and an ancient witch threaten a peaceful universe held together by science, sorcery, and pineapples. Check out the link in the show notes or find us at lesserknowncomics.com.
So yeah, as James said, that was Mark from Lesser Known Comics telling us a little bit about his awesome comic book company, which he's set up. That has great values, you know, in terms of keeping it independent, keeping it real with the artists and so on that produce the stuff. And they have a Kickstarter going at the moment, so we will share the link to that and also the link to lessknowncomics.com, I believe it is, where you can get hold of all their comics as well. Check it out, you won't regret it. It's got also a comic from one of our previous guests, Patrick Hickey Jr., Condry, which is incredible.
Really good.
Well worth reading. Absolutely incredible sort of story he's put together for that.
100%. But for the meantime, I've been James. He's been Matt. Join us next time for the next week in Metropolis.
I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as we did. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our future episodes.
Yeah, and you can also follow us on all social media, so you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and TikTok.